Time now for Weather Watch, brought to you by Ag Risk Advisors and WSR Insurance.
Here's this week's Weather Watch. Matt Makens here. I hope it finds you doing well. Last time we chatted about El Nino kind of creating some wet regimes in some areas, plus this extreme heat. This time, since we were kind of on the theme of extremes, let's continue that. So what kind of risks does moving into an El Nino pattern bring to the country, bring to our regions in terms of precipitation? Maybe that means flooding, or temperatures. Maybe that means excessive heat or cold, depending on the case. So let's talk about that and what's happening. We do have the El Nino region right here with the black boxes. Again, we're looking at ocean conditions. When the ocean conditions in those boxes are hotter than average, which they are now, you have a developing El Nino and a persistent El Nino. But you have to have the atmosphere respond to that. And so far, we've seen some hints of the atmosphere behaving El Nino, but other hints where it hasn't been. So they're not quite talking together yet. The atmosphere and the ocean, that is. The ocean is firmly in that El Nino pattern. We're just waiting on the atmosphere to behave like it. Part of the factor here is how much cold ocean we have just off of North America, off to the west coast there. And that's going to be a factor in the forecast. And again, we're talking about our engine, our atmospheric weather engine, our climate engine, if you will. So if you're applying pressure in some areas and getting that combustion, that spark, that burst of energy, you're compensating it somewhere else in the engine. And that's what's going to happen as we go forward. So with an El Nino, you're punching the atmosphere with storminess and weather, and then somewhere else you're starting to dry things out. So let's see how that applies in terms of some of the extremes. These are going to be for fall temperature extremes. Blue means cold. So we're looking at more often than not cooler extremes for the central plains and the west with an El Nino during fall. Now, moisture-wise, we can see a surplus of water, increased risks of flooding throughout the Rockies down through Texas, and then we compensate with that engine by drying things out for the Pacific Northwest and the northern plains. What about the winter? In the winter, you start to increase the risks of warmth or warm extremes across the northern tier states. You compensate that with colder than normal conditions across the south. With moisture, we usually see the heaviest precip across the south in winter and driest extremes to the north. So those are some of the extreme conditions we may see as we develop this El Nino, get the atmosphere responding to it as we get into fall and winter. Look for temperature and precipitation extremes depending on where you are. And of course, we'll keep you updated on this as we go throughout the months ahead right here on C2C during the Weather Watch.
Weather Watch is brought to you by Ag Risk Advisors, with you no matter the weather. And by WSR Insurance, providing insurance solutions for more than a century. Visit their websites for more details.